Hello and welcome to CO450. This is Computer Architectures. My name is Justin Luca. I am the module leader for this particular module, and I just really wanted to give you a quick overview of what the module is about, and just to give you a quick tour of the module area in Blackboard so that you know where resources are and when the assessments are going to be, and just some important information about finding your way around the module and what we're going to do and how we're going to deliver it. So without further ado, I'll just take us over to the Blackboard module area and we can have a look at that. So this is the Blackboard module area within Blackboard. So this is the Computer Architectures site. This is the main page you come into when you enter the module from your Home tab. You can see the first thing we come into is Module Materials, which you can also access from the side menu here. If we have a look at this area, we've got a full breakdown of the module scheme, which says what we're going to do each week. And if I just open that up, it's just a PDF, a new tab. You can see the breakdown of the weeks here, along with the weeks where we're going to have assessments. So the assessments for this module are done at 4 points. We have 4 assessments. They are in weeks 4, 8, 12, and 14 of the module. And they are little in-class tests, essentially. So this TCA stands for Time Control Assessment. So it's a little test that we take in the class during the week. It's just an hour. It's 25 multiple choice questions, really, delivered via Blackboard, and that's based on the content that we've covered. So I'll talk more about that in a moment. We'll come back to the assessment. Below that, though, we can see the breakdown of each week. So we can see that in week 1 this week, we have a brief history of computing and an introduction to the main components of a computer. Those are the sort of main topics to be covered here. So it's really just a talk about components and history of computing. Now this year I have recorded that lecture, and I've made it available via the week 1 folder, which I'll show you in a second where that is. I'm not going to do a face-to-face version of that this year. So the face-to-face sessions that are scheduled for this week, I'm effectively going to not do. They're going to be cancelled, but the content for those sessions is going to be available via Blackboard module shell, and it will be a recording of the lecture that I would normally give. So it's normally just a kind of passive lecture that I give about the history of computing and the introduction to components and so on. So we obviously we're changing the way we work a little bit. That's going to be completely accessible to you online, and I won't be doing the face-to-face sessions that are scheduled in your timetable for this week. Following weeks, we do have some practical work to undertake for each of the following weeks. So in week 2, we start to get into the main crux of the module, which is to do with in that week with data representations and looking at binary values and number systems, and we have practical exercises for converting decimal to binary and binary to decimal and so on. And the practical elements of those weeks is what I will do in the face-to-face schedules that we've got slots. So our normal timetable is slightly truncated. We normally have 3-hour blocks for these modules. We now have about an hour and a quarter. It's an hour and a half scheduled, but we have to allow time for the social distancing of movement between groups. So effectively, in that time, I can do some practical exercises with you or practical advice and guidance, but I again will be doing the lecture part, the presentational part. I will be doing that as a recording, which I will host on the module area again. So most of my presentational materials, the materials that I would normally lecture to you traditionally with, I will make available as recordings via Blackboard. The practical elements I will deliver in the face-to-face sessions, unless we come to the conclusion that those could be also covered as recordings, because to be honest, in my lecture, I talk about the techniques and practical things that we're doing, and I go through them. So you might just say, well, actually, I can see what you're doing, I understand it, and I'm fine. I don't need to necessarily see you directly. So these things we can work out as we go. But just to let you know, this is the full schedule. So you can look for here, and I won't go over every single week because you can do that yourself. But it does give a breakdown of what we're doing and when it is, and where and so on. So that's quite useful for you. The other things that we have in here, of course, are the module materials themselves, or do have again the assessment points in there as well, so the weeks and the week numbers, as it were, the commencing. So these weeks, obviously, we have multiple sessions for computer architectures. It's not just your group. We have lots of different groups through the week, and so the commencement times refer to the beginning of the Monday of the week, but your TCA slot will be in your normal class time during that week. So it's just the numbers of the names of the dates of the week that we have. So it's your normal class slot within that week, basically. And that's clearly displayed to you there. And then I have a folder for each of the weeks going down. They're actually numbered in kind of reverse order, and the reason that is because in normal times I would put these content out 1 week at a time, and then I would release the next week as we kind of come to it, and they would build up. But because we're not in normal times and it's difficult times for a lot of people, I felt it's better to kind of make all the material available from week 1. So you've got all the weeks, all the materials. The only thing that isn't in there is recordings for each of those weeks, because that's something I'm doing as we go through. So those will only pop up as they're available, normally 1 week in advance, or at least the week before. But everything else is there, so you can get ahead and get onto it and look at it. I'm conscious that sometimes students come to us with some experience of this type of content from A-level and other IT or computing type courses, because this module is very much an introduction to computer science. So it's very much about what computers are functionally, how they work internally, how the calculations and mathematics are done, the logic is orchestrated, and so on. So sometimes people come with a bit of knowledge of that, so you might be able to move on or get a bit further on, or you might just want to get ahead and have a look at what's coming. So everything is there available to you. If I go into the week 1 folder, which is at the bottom, we can see what we have at the moment. So we have the presentation. So this is a PDF copy of the presentation that I give with some various other things. So this one actually has a bit of reading there for you, and a video on some of the history of computing. So it's just for interest. And then above that, there is a link which is to my presentation. So that link will link out to my YouTube account where that is hosted. So it normally opens a new tab in your browser, and it's got the presentation recording in my YouTube area. The YouTube content is actually unlisted on YouTube, so you can only get to it via the link here. You won't, if you search for my name on YouTube, you might find my account, but you'll find nothing really in it. I unlist the videos, so it's not publicly available. They are only available to yourselves, really, as students who have the link via the Blackboard here. So they're kind of hidden away, even though they're hosted on that obviously big YouTube system. So what else have we got that we need to know about? So that's all on module materials. So that's mainly the bulk content of the module. On this side menu, we also have assignments. So assignments is a full list of everything. So here again, you see the dates and times of the assessments. So I do put them in various places just to make sure you're really clued into the assessments. And then we have a list of all the assignment briefs. Now, assignment briefs are documents that we produce for each assignment, and this is every module has to have assignment briefs for the assignments that you do, and that just breaks down each assignment into a little bit more detail and explains to you what the assignment is about. Now, with my TCAs, these little time-constrained assessments, there's not much you can say in an assignment brief apart from it's a test that's delivered via Blackboard. It has 25 questions, multiple choice, and they come from certain weeks. So it's delivered in week 4. We're in week 1 at the moment, and essentially it will test or the questions are based on content from weeks 1, 2, and 3. So 1, 2, and 3, I look at those content and I create questions roughly evenly split, although it's not quite an even split, of course, because we have 25 questions to write. So it's about 8, possibly 9, obviously, with one of the week's questions that I put into that. So between 8 and 9 questions per week, put together in a 25 question little test that you undertake. It's multiple choice questions only, so the answer is there in front of you. You just have to know it and be able to pick it from the list and to answer the question. So it's relatively straightforward to do, and I think most students find this approach for this particular module to be quite simple, really, and you get your results straight away, and you know where you are in terms of your progress. So out of the 25%, so it's four TCAs, essentially 1% towards the module per question. So to pass, so 40% is our pass mark for any TCA. So you need 10 or above in terms of out of the 25. So that's not too bad, I think. And like I say, most students have no problem with these TCAs at all. So the assignment brief just lays that out in a bit more detail and so on, officially, as it were. So you can look at those. It's good to familiar yourself with assignment briefs. And in terms of other modules, definitely have a look at assignment briefs if it's coursework or anything else that's not so straightforward, or at least needs that greater explanation. The assignment brief is where that information will be. Coming down on the side menu, we have a reading list. The reading list is just some books that I recommend for the modules. These are books that would be useful to you if you are studying this subject area and you want to progress within that. This is an introduction to computer science, so computer science books are really what we have here. The top one, The Essentials of Computer Organization and Architecture, that's the Null and Labor book. As it says there, primary module textbook. Is a big fat textbook. It's into various different editions now. I can't remember what the latest edition is off the top of my head. However, I generally recommend to students to buy older editions as used copies from, say, Amazon, because you normally get a much better price. And frankly, in the world of computer science and what we're looking at, and certainly the basics, the fundamental stuff about what computers are, that hasn't really changed. So if you get an older edition, it's still very relevant to the module, and it will save you money. So I try to save students money. Times are hard with students. So a used copy of an older textbook for this particular field, this particular subject area, where it's the fundamentals of computer science, which is long established and long written about, is absolutely fine, because textbooks can be quite expensive. I think I've actually linked on this book. Yes, I have actually put a link to the Amazon just to make it a bit more straightforward to you. This one is the 2010 edition. Like I say, there isn't a new edition here. Yeah, you can see what I mean here. So the newer edition is like £66, which is quite heavy. This older edition, although it was relevant when I put it up there, that's now going for, interesting, the hardcover is cheaper than the paperback, £20 for that. And again, the used copies seem to be more expensive. It is sometimes strange how the pricing works on these things. Shop around a little bit. You'll probably find there are older editions than this. So this is, what edition is this one? Normally gives the full details here. Let's have a look. Can I see the edition number? Never see when you look for it, can you? Can't see it if... No, can't see it there. But I think there's a few more. There's older editions even than this 2010 one. So if you to go back through Amazon, you may find even cheaper. I mean, I have found copies for like £2.50, so the sort of first edition in sort of paperback. But anyway, that textbook will do you proud for everything that you need to do for this module. So that's kind of the primary one there. So the reading list, submit your work is an area where we use just for when we have the TCAs. So when the TCAs are available, I put them into there. You do them in the class, so they are password protected at that point, and I have to give you the access to them as and when you're about to take them. So we invigilate them and we look after them, and so don't worry too much about that. But that's where there will be once you're there, and that's it really. So that's the overview of the module. Only to say it is an architectures module. It's a computer science module that we look at. We look at how computers work. The main content is about the mathematics, I suppose, of computing. So we look at translating numbers, initially data representations. We look at how computers do the math of working with binary numbers. We look at how the logic circuits work inside computers for storing information and translating information and working with the binary patterns. We do a little bit of assembly level programming, which is very low level programming right next to the architecture itself. We look at the processing of that. So that's something that we do a little bit of, not massive, just I think 2 weeks really on assembly programming within there. You'll see it in the module scheme. So I'd like to say again, just you're welcome to the module. Hopefully it's going to be a good one for you. It normally is quite exciting. Students find it quite interesting, I think. Sometimes a little bit challenging, as with all modules, but that's good. Obviously, I'm sorry that times are slightly weird at the moment for everybody in the world, but we're obviously trying our best to support you and hopefully you'll find actually these sort of recordings that I'm going to produce each week and the materials and so on. That's kind of a bit of an enhancement really, because normally, obviously, I would do a session during live in a classroom with you, and that's kind of it, unless you take your notes or audio record me, I suppose, as some students have done in the past. There's no real sort of record of that. You can't sort of go back over it. So the nice thing about having the recorded material is you can go back over it and review it and see it again and again and again. So I think that's a bonus. That's a real positive to sort of emphasize in this world of difficulty that we now have in terms of social distancing and something. So, but hopefully that will be fine, and you'll enjoy that. So if you want to contact me at any point, my email address is here displayed, so justin.luca@bucks.ac.uk. All of our email addresses, by the way, are always our name with the dot in the middle between first name and surname, and our full names are displayed on the outside of our offices. Our offices are down on the second floor of the east wing, so it's E2, and my office is 12, and next door 11 is the other guys in the team. So we're split between two offices, but our names are on the outside of the doors, and you can see the list there. So if you want to email us, but you're unsure of our name, or you've got the first name and you can't remember the surname, just check the list on the door. If you're on campus, you don't need to go in. You can just do this and send us an email. So emailing me is fine. It's the main contact for me, I guess. And if you have any questions or you want to just drop me a line, that's fine. And like I say, for the week 1 we won't be meeting face to face, but week 2 we will do, because we then have more practical things to do. This week is just a lecture which is now hosted on there, so that's fine. There's no difference in experience really for accessing that. Anyway, I suspect I will obviously see you probably next week. So thank you very much for your time.